All right, we've got a fun one for you guys today. I am going to be going through a tier list of all the popular fad diets because I am seeing a lot of misinformation. So I want to give you guys how I would rank these individual diets. I'm going to be completely fair to them. I'm not going to rank everything F tier because of the fact that they're restrictive. I'm going to say, you know what, if I had no choice but to live on these for the rest of my life, where would I rank them? And let's get right into it. The first one, the one that everybody wants to know about, the carnivore diet. Now, here's the thing about carnivore. If I'm doing it for short periods of time, I can handle it. It's pretty good. Overall, I'm gonna get exactly what I need as far as my fats and my proteins. Obviously, carbs are not gonna be there, but overall, I'm gonna feel okay, be pretty good. Skin will probably actually clear up. That has happened to me in the past when I've tried carnivore, but in the end, it is very restrictive and you are going to be missing out possibly on some nutrients that you could have. So in the end, a strict carnivore diet, I can only rank it for the rest of my life at a C tier. Which leads me into the next one, which is a keto diet. This one I'm a little bit more keen on because now you can start to incorporate some fruits. Now you can start to incorporate, well, I should say when it comes to fruits, probably things that are more like berries. You can start to incorporate more vegetables. Then you can have your meat, your eggs, etc. Honestly, that is a pretty good overall diet, pretty good and balanced. Now, I don't like the fact that I can't have more carbs in the system in order to get my workouts going a little bit better. But overall, I'm really gonna put this in the B tier. I don't really think keto is nearly as bad as a lot of people say. I think just keto people are very loud about the diet, and therefore a lot of people get a sour taste in their mouth because of that. This one is a little bit more niche, except if you're in the world of nutrition, you've probably heard of it before, and that is the Mediterranean diet. Now that one mainly focuses on whole grains, focuses on certain types of oils, focuses on fish, and honestly, it is a pretty good overall diet, and the health outcomes from it seem pretty darn good. So I would have to say for the Mediterranean diet, for the average person, I don't like the fact that it keeps you from eating as much meat as I would like to eat. But overall, I can't put it anywhere except for the A tier. The next one, the one that every gym bro in the early 2000s was using, IFYM, or if it fits your macros. Now here is the issue with this. Can you do an if it fits your macros approach? Well, yes. But if you take it at face value, if you take it as the name suggests, which is if it fits your macros, so you could be getting your sugars from anywhere, you could be getting your fats from anywhere, you could be getting your proteins from anywhere, as long as it fits your macros, that's a terrible diet. I'm sorry to be the one to break it to you. Just because you hit your fat intake, just because you hit your carb intake, just because you hit your protein intake, does not mean that you're getting the nutrients that you should be getting, does not mean that it is an overall good diet for you. I could do an if it fits your macros on the crappiest foods you ever see in your life, as long as I supplement with some whey protein powder or something like that. And you guys would be like, oh, look at those macros. They look great. But my diet would be crap. So I have to rank it. I'm sorry, it's going in the D tier. Now let's move on to possibly the most annoying people to exist on the face of this planet. You already know what it is. That is vegans. Now I don't have anything against a person who says, you know what, like I just like animals. I don't want to cause too much harm. So I'm gonna try and live a vegan lifestyle, and they just keep to themselves, be like, perfectly fine. But they are so loud and obnoxious about their cause in general that I'm probably gonna rank it even lower than I should just because of that. But I will say you can get the nutrients you need. You can get a lot of the stuff that you need in order to live a good, long, healthy, sustainable life, but it is incredibly restrictive. And because there are certain things that I would still wanna eat that I cannot eat on this diet, I'm gonna put it in the C tier. And leading on from that, we now have the vegetarian diet. For some reason, I don't know why, vegetarian was incredibly popular when I was very young, but then it was like, it kind of went out of fashion because it was like, well, if you're gonna be all in, you have to be all in, and then you have to go vegan. And it was like, they kind of like beat down the vegetarians until people just stopped talking about being vegetarian. But overall, I remember when a lot of people were doing a vegetarian diet, but because eggs come from chickens and you can't be having the chickens in the coop, and because of the fact that the milk is coming from the cows and you can't have the cows locked away, it became this whole big ordeal. But overall, it's a lot less restrictive than a vegan diet. There's some things that I really like to consume that I would want to consume that vegetarians can consume that vegans can't. Things like eggs, things like whey, things like Honestly, I don't have a ton of cheese in my diet, but I know a lot of people like to have that for flavoring, so it can be good for them. So I would say overall, a vegetarian diet, I would rank it higher than a vegan diet. I would probably put that in the B tier. And on to the big bad, wait, what happened here? Oh, yeah, the microphone died last time, so I have to redo this. The big bad diet, which is the SAD, Standard American Diet. And I'm already giving away my ranking here because what else are we gonna say about it? It's low nutrient quality, it is low in protein, high in carbs and fats, ultra processed foods, stuff that just is not going to be good for you in the long run. It's gonna lead to a lot of metabolic issues, a lot of obesity. I mean, we've seen the rates just skyrocket over the years. There's really nothing good to say about the Standard American Diet. There's just, I'm sorry, that's it. There's nothing good to say about it. F tier. That is it. No discussion. And this one, you can't argue with me on it. You can't. It is just an F tier diet. Don't do it. Next, we have the Paleo Diet. Now this one, I'd never really looked into too much before. Like I'd heard about it kind of here and there, but because I have an overall good diet myself, I never really thought about going into it as a fad or anything like that. But then I started looking into it overall, and I was shocked because the Paleo Diet, don't misquote me here, is almost my diet. I was like, oh, dang, like that's very similar to the way I eat. Not saying that it's 100%, but you take a look at the things that it allows: fresh fruits, vegetables, seafood, red meat, potatoes, well, more specifically sweet potatoes. For some reason it doesn't allow regular potatoes, mostly because people don't understand that white doesn't equal bad. But it has eggs, it has nuts, it has oils. I'm not as big on the nuts and oils, but still have them in my diet from time to time. And then herbs and water and herbal tea. Now the things that it does not allow are a lot of things that I don't eat. It doesn't allow ultra processed foods, refined vegetable oils, which I'm not like specifically against the vegetable oils. I'm not going crazy on that. It's just, I don't really have it much in my diet. And then you have like added, I guess it says added salt you don't have, which I do add salt, but sugar, added sugar, don't have much of that in my diet. I don't have a ton of legumes and beans in my diet. Not because there's anything specifically wrong with them. It's just not my cup of tea. I don't have a lot of dairy outside of whey in my diet. I like cheese, but I don't have a ton of it in there. I don't even have a lot of grains in my diet, which I know like a lot of people are like, oh, whole grains are great and stuff. I just don't eat them much. So overall, it's a pretty similar diet to what I have, but there are obviously going to be things in here that I would like to have from time to time. And if I went on a strict paleo diet, could never touch these things again in my life, it would be a little bit restrictive. But overall, for me specifically, could be completely different for you, which I understand, but for me specifically, I would rank it as an A-tier diet. You can get pretty much everything you need in good quantities from this diet, but it's going to be a little bit more restrictive, so obviously I can't put it in the S tier. Finally, the last, the best, the 100% perfect diet. Well, not perfect, but close enough. The S tier diet, the only one that I will put in the S tier is, that was good timing, my diet. My diet is an S tier diet. And when I say my diet, what I mean is the way that I view food. You see, there are good principles from almost all of these diets. There are things that they're trying to do that have good ideas, good intentions behind them, but because people don't understand nutrition, it's much easier for them to say hard no, hard yes, and then people fall into these fads because if they don't go into these fads, they're like, well, can I do this? Can I do this? They get all worked up and then, oh, boom, they fall into something even worse. So what they do is they say, well, if I can 100% have this and 100% not have this, just makes it easier for me, black, white. But the thing is, very rarely can people actually stick to that. So if you understand nutritional principles and what each of these diets are trying to accomplish by their restrictiveness, you can piece together a very solid diet for yourself. And that's what I've done. So, for example, I understand that there's nothing inherently wrong with certain types of foods that I don't eat very often. But I know for me, I can overeat on those foods very easily. So they comprise a very small amount in my diet. I know that certain foods are not going to give me the micronutrient quality that I'm trying to get. So they comprise a very small amount of my diet. Doesn't mean that they won't ever make their way in there from time to time, but I'm not sitting here with a pantry full of snacks. I just don't do it. is not a good idea for me. I'm a very extreme person. So when I go into something, I go all in. So I know for me, having a box of Oreos in the cupboard is not a good idea. I know having a bag of chips in the cupboard is not a good idea. I'm just a person who will take and overdo something if I'm going to do it. So for me, having a big thing of fruit in the fridge is gonna be a lot more helpful than having a bag of chips in the pantry. And that is all I have to say on fad diets, guys. So I want you to put your rankings down below, because I legitimately think that every single one of you should have a different ranking than me. Not a single one of you should agree on every single thing that I said in this video. You know why? Because you're individuals with individual opinions, and this is not a data-driven thing. This is a personal ranking based on my morals, based on my ethics, based on my way of viewing food. And if you have the exact same one as me, I'm gonna go ahead and say it. You're not thinking. So please put yours down below. We can have a hearty discussion, and I will see you guys in the next one. TNF out. Shoot. I don't know what to do with you.